If you'd like to read along, visit shahnamequest.substack.com for transcripts, illustrations, and bonus content. The first story in the reign of King Fereydoun is that of how his 3 sons met their wives. At the start of the story, we learn that these 3 sons are all unnamed, and that the eldest 2 are born of one mother, and the youngest is born of another. Now, to make things more complicated, the 2 mothers happen to be Shahrinaz and Arnavaz, the sisters of the former king Jamshid. That divide among the 3 brothers becomes very significant later on. But for now, this is just a tale of courtship, marriage, and tricks. It begins when King Fereydoun orders his noble counselor, Jandal, to travel the world in search of the most beautiful 3 brides to marry his sons. Being a well-traveled and well-connected man himself, Jandal undertakes this challenge with the utmost diligence. He puts the word out only to the most selective and high-status people he knows, and privately screens only the worthiest of prospects. Jandal's long and exhaustive search finally brings him to Yemen, where he meets King Sarv and his 3 beautiful daughters. And immediately Jandal realizes he's found 3 perfect matches for Fereydoun's 3 sons. And so Jandal begins his effusive praise and passes along a message to King Sarv of Yemen on behalf of King Fereydoun, that both kings enjoy a special divine privilege of having been blessed with 3 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters respectively. And when fortunes are this glorious among 2 kingdoms, the only right thing to do is to join forces in marriage. But King Sarv is torn. On the one hand, he does not want to give up his daughters, but on the other, he does not want to upset Fereydoun, the great king who was powerful enough to defeat Zahok the Serpent King. After careful deliberation with his ambassadors and councils, King Sarv responds to Jandal's message by saying he will only bless this marriage if Fereydoun's sons travel to Yemen and meet him personally. And Jandal excitedly hurries back to Iran to give word to Fereydoun. But unbeknownst to Jandal, King Sarv is devising a trick for Fereydoun's sons. Jandal finally returns to Iran and reports to King Fereydoun all about King Sarv and his 3 beautiful daughters. Fereydoun receives the news happily, but then thoughtfully considers the situation. He gathers his 3 sons and gives them a long talk. He says the king of Yemen is a very strong and clever ruler, and his 3 beautiful daughters would make wonderful wives for you. But I sense that he's reluctant to give them up. I have a feeling that he's going to try and trick you, and my suspicions are that he will do so by pairing you all off, but having switched the eldest daughter for the youngest daughter. And when he asks you to name which daughter is the eldest, you will get the answer wrong and prove yourselves unworthy. He tells them to go to Yemen and woo their brides, but to remember that when the test comes, the eldest daughter and the youngest daughter will have been switched. So needless to say, Fereydoun was 1 step ahead of King Sarv. Fereydoun's sons arrive in Yemen, where King Sarv has decked the whole palace in gold and plumes and beautiful jewels. Then King Sarv proudly brings in his 3 daughters and arranges them exactly as Fereydoun had predicted. He puts the eldest daughter in front of the youngest son, and the youngest daughter in front of the eldest son, and the 2 middle children are correctly paired. Then a silence fills the palace as King Sarv asks Fereydoun's eldest son to identify which daughter is the eldest, the middle, and the youngest. And of course, Fereydoun's eldest son is ready with the correct answer, that Sarv had switched the eldest and youngest, and proves that the sons are worthy of marriage to the daughters. King Sarv, shocked and disappointed, has no choice but to say yes and bless these 3 marriages, and what follows is a big, lavish party full of wine and song and feast. But as the party wound down and Fereydoun's sons became tired, the bitter King Sarv tried one more devious trick. In the guise of hospitality, King Sarv bid that the sons sleep here in the palace, and made a special bed for them in the garden, surrounded by beautiful blossoms and roses next to the fountain of rosewater. And there the 3 sons became literally lulled into a false sense of security, for King Sarv is actually a sorcerer. And once the 3 sons are unconscious, King Sarv conjures an ice storm to try and freeze them to death. His hope was that by killing Fereydoun's sons, he could keep his 3 daughters for himself a bit longer. But, by the grace of God, of course, Fereydoun's 3 sons survived, untouched by the harsh, icy weather. With no more tricks left up his sleeve, and no more excuses left to protest, King Sarv finally accepts and blesses these 3 marriages. In his parting words to the 3 couples, King Sarv vulnerably says that fortune does not favor the man who has a daughter, because of the tragic day that he'll have to give them up. And his final plea to Fereydoun's sons is to treasure his daughters as they would treasure their own eyes, and protect their hearts as they would protect their own lives. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it or leave a review. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more Shahnameh quests.